Alright, in this video I'm going to teach about the powers of imaginary numbers. We know what imaginary numbers are. Imaginary number is I, which is equal to under root minus 1. And we also know that an imaginary number is a number which when squared gives us a negative 1. Which when squared gives us a negative 1. What if we cube an imaginary number? We can do it by splitting it up. We can write it as I squared multiplied by I, and I squared is equal to minus 1. Here we see that, and multiplied by I. Minus 1 multiplied by I is minus I. Okay, and what's I to the fourth? We can do it by simply splitting it up again. I squared multiplied by I squared, and here we get minus 1 times minus 1, and that becomes a positive 1. Okay, let's go to I5, I to the power 5. We can take it as I cubed times I squared, because powers add up to become 5. This becomes I cubed is minus I, and I squared is minus 1. Okay, minus becomes plus I. Okay, so here we can see when we had an I, when we had I to the 1, it was I raised to the power 2, it is minus 1. I raised to the power 3, it was minus I raised to the power 4, it was 1. Then I raised to the power 5, it was a positive I, or simply the I. What if it's I raised to the power 6? We can simply multiply it I cubed times I cubed, and we will get minus I times minus I. This becomes a positive I squared. And what is an I squared? I squared is negative 1. We see that over here, negative 1. I power 6 is minus 1. Okay, you see one thing. The trend starts to repeat after this. 1 is I minus 1, minus I 1. And again, I minus 1, and then power. When we do power 7, you can just try it. I can go on and on and on. I to the power 7 will be minus I, then I to the power 8 will be 1. This keeps on going on and on. 7 will be minus I, then I to the 8 will be 1. We can write it as a cycle. I'll just erase it and write it over here. Now, first we get an I, then we get a minus 1, then we get a negative I, and then we get a 1. That's first step, that's second step, this is third step, and then it's fourth step. First, I'll write it inside. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the powers. Okay, then what is fifth? Fifth will start from here. Fifth, then sixth. This will then become 7th, and this will become 8 again. I hope you're getting me. Okay, so since we know the cycle repeats after it. Okay, so to generalize it, I can write it as when I has a power which is a multiple of 1. When there's symbol 1I, it's I. When it is squared, or any power which is a multiple of 2, but not a multiple of 4. I'll clarify it later. It's minus 1. I to the power 3. Any multiple of 3. 3n. I'll write it 3n or 2n. Okay, let's remove this n for now, it will confuse you. Okay, if it's I to the 3, it's minus I, and I raised to the power 4, it's 1. Okay, for now just keep this in mind, just focus on this, because the cycle repeats, we only get these 4 answers. Okay, now let me give you a very complex question. What is I raised to the power 232? That's a difficult question. I mean, you will have to multiply it I so many times, you will just take weeks or maybe at least a day to solve it. But here's the trick. You need to memorize 3 divisibility rules. These 3 divisibility rules. If a number does not obey these 3 divisibility rules, it will just be the 4th one. You don't need to have a rule for 1. Okay, divisibility rule for 4 is any number which has any digits number like 4, 5, 6, 3, 8, 2, 4, any huge number. If you have a huge number, if you have to check that if it's a multiple of 4, the trick is to see the last 2 digits. If the last 2 digits are a multiple of 4, then yes, your number is divisible by 4. Okay, here we have 24. 4 times 6 is 24, so yes, this whole number, this huge number is divisible by 4. For 3, the trick is, suppose we have a number 6, 1, 5, 2, 1, 4, 2. All this, we have a huge number over here. I just took a random number. Okay, we have to add all these digits. 6 plus 1, 7 plus 5, we get 12 plus 2, 14 plus 1, 15. 15 plus 6, we get 21. We add all these numbers, and the result, if the result is divisible by 3, then we know that this number is divisible by 3. For 2, it's the rule is simple, that it should be an even number in the end. We should have a 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 in the end. Okay, you need to remember these 3 rules to solve them. Okay, here our question is I raised to the power 232. We need to check if it's divisible by I raised to the power 4, 232. 32, is it divisible by 4? Yes. 4 times 8 is 32. So this is a multiple of 4, so we can say that this number is equal to 1. We can see it in the cycle. Any multiple of this 4 will be 1. Suppose we had I raised to the power 233. It is not divisible by 4 because it's not even, so it's not even divisible by 2 as well. Let's check for 3. The sum of all these 3 numbers is 6 plus 2, 8. 8 is not divisible by 3, so we are only left with one option, this is I. However huge power is, like suppose we have this as a power, I raised to the power 4, 5, 6, 3, 8, 2, 4. We have such a huge power. Don't get confused. It's simple. Just check for these rules. If it's divisible by 4, you can see these 2 digits. Yes, we discussed as 24 is divisible. 4 times 6 is 24. So yes, this is divisible by 4. Here we get 1 as an answer. This is, if I was raised to the power this, it will become, as it's divisible by 3, it will be minus I. Minus I will be the answer. Okay, I hope I have cleared you the powers of imaginary numbers. If you are confronted with any power of I in your exams, any huge power, you won't face any difficulties. Just remember these 3 rules, divisibility rules. If you have a huge number, check the last two digits. If they are multiple of 4, then yes, your number is divisible by 4. For 3, add all these numbers, add all the digits, and if the sum is divisible by 3, then yes, your power is divisible by 3, and the answer to the I raised to the power, that number will be minus I. And if it's an even number but not divisible by 4, your answer will be minus 1. And if all these 3 rules do not apply, then your answer will be simple in I. So it is important that you apply these rules from down below, because if this number is even, you can mistakenly say that this is divisible, this can be -1 because it's an even number, but you have to check if it's divisible by 4. If it's divisible by 4, then it's a +1. If it's not divisible by 4 and it is even, it's not divisible by 4 but it is even, then it will be -1. So you start it from here. You give first priority to this one. I'll erase it. The first priority will be given to this, and second to this, third, and then fourth. If it's an even number, you can just check. If the power 4 rule fails, then it's definitely the second one. Or if a number is odd, and if it's not divisible by 3, odd and not divisible by 3, here's this, that will be the answer. This I will be the answers. Okay, that's it for now. I hope you get the powers of imaginary numbers now. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.